Hey, welcome. Let me turn on the lights. Here we go. Beautiful. So welcome back, and welcome to the Prosperous Musician. My name is Spence, and this is where we talk music, money, and marketing. And today I'm doing a live stream, and basically if you're subscribed to the Prosperous Musician, which would be great if you could do that, subscribe now, hit the like button, let me know that you're there. Drop a comment below as we're live. Drop something in the top chat box and let me know that you're there, because this is very much an interactive thing. I want to hear your experiences as well. Now, the title of this is How to Get Free PR, and this is just one of the daily videos that I'm going to be doing. Some are going to be live like this because it just feels it's a bit easier to sort of do, if I'm honest. I've set myself a challenge of doing daily videos for at least 50 days. So sometimes got busy with other projects, it's quite hard to fit in a video and to edit it and to upload it. So sometimes it's just easier to do it this way. So that's why we're doing it. So how to get free PR. Now, are you a musician? Are you an artist? Have you got an album? Are you about to launch something? Are you about to go on tour? Have you got some kind of merchandise or something you want to sell? Or something you want to raise awareness about? Then there's lots of ways to do that nowadays. But the one I want to talk to you about today is it's like a two-step kind of process, really, and it's all completely free. But the results that you get are actually worth more than money can buy. And I'm not sort of saying that lightly. A lot of the exposure that you can get, you couldn't actually pay for. There's no campaign that you can get like that. It just comes because generally you're kind of well known and people want to get in touch with you. But if you're not well known, people don't really know you, then how do you get this kind of exposure? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you some secrets of how you can do that right now. So the first thing you want to do is, if wherever you are, hello, by the way, if you've just joined, drop me a comment in the box, hit the like button, let me know that you're there. It's really great that you can join me on this live on Easter Saturday. So the first thing you need to do, right, if you're a musician, and I'm talking to you as if, if you're a musician, then that's why you're, hey, thanks, Lynn. Lynn. Yeah, it's a much more stable connection. So yeah, what we're talking about is how to get free PR. So the best thing to do is, if you've got an album, if you're a musician, you want to get first of all, you need something to a point to what you're doing, right? So if you're just promoting yourself and you haven't got an album or a single or a tour or a gig or anything like that, then it's going to be quite hard to do anything, really. What you need is something happening, something going on, right? It doesn't have to be a massive thing. It could be that you're about to go in the studio, or you're writing a charity song, or anything, right? Something, an angle on it, right? But let's just assume for this example that you've got a new album coming out, right? And you either want to raise the money for it, or you've already got it raised and you want to get it out there, right? So this is for specifically for that kind of, if you're at that point. So, and it's relatable to my experience, and I'll tell you what happened to me. So what I did was, first of all, I got in the local paper, right? And this is the first step that you need to do. You can't miss this step out, okay? It's very important. Get in the local paper, and luckily for me, where I live, where I did live in Birmingham, is the second biggest city in the UK, right? So it's a big city. So the paper there, even though it's the local paper, it goes out to lots of people. Lots of people will see it. You get lots of exposure, but that's not really the point, okay? Weirdly enough, it's not necessarily how many people are going to see it, but it's who specifically is going to see it. And I'll tell you more about why that's important as we go along, okay? So the first thing you need to do is to get into the local paper. Now, that could be, if you live in a small town, even better, because generally any journalist, really, the local press, not necessarily the national press, but certainly the local press, most journalists will thank you if you can give them a very well well-rounded story. If there's an angle, if it's an interesting story, now what you need to do is write a press release. And we're not going to talk too much about that in this video, or if you want to drop me a comment below, I'm happy to do another video on that. But I'm just going to give you the strategy, if you like, first, and we can go into detail in another time. So first of all, what you need to do is get a press release and draft your story out in a way that is palatable to journalists. You don't just write them anything. There is a structure to it, and you can go online and Google how to write a press release, and there'll be dozens of examples of how to do that. So I won't go too much into that here, but you can find out that for yourself. So you need to put your story in a format which is appealing or acceptable to a journalist, because if it's not in that format, they won't accept it and they won't respond to you. Okay, so you have to show that you're professional in that way, and you've done your research and you know how to write a press release. That's the first thing you need to learn, all right? So once you've got your press release and once you've got the angle of the story, now the angle is very important because the angle will determine how interesting that story is to someone. So if you're going in and you're saying, oh, I've got a new album out and I'm going to sell it at a discount rate, you know, that's not really a story. That's really an advert. Yeah, so it's about selling something. You know, in this instance, you're not talking about selling something for pounds, shillings and pence or dollars or whatever it is. It's about promoting yourself and an interesting angle. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Thanks, Lynn. I'll do that. Yeah. I'm just going to write this down. Sorry, I'm a bit. Yeah. So get your pen and paper ready. You can write some notes down. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Okay. So the first example was a suggestion that I made to a band that I knew many years ago. Okay, and they were asking me this very question. They were saying, well, how do I get noticed? How do I get in the paper? How do I get anyone to? And this was before the internet really took off. It was before, well before kind of Facebook was like it is now. It was around the kind of MySpace era. So it was still like a global thing, but you couldn't really get much local interest. So my suggestion was him, right, his band were called the China Dogs, right? So I suggested to him, and this was kind of half a joke, really. I wasn't really expecting him to take it seriously, but I kind of said, okay, well, why don't you say, imagine this, if you sent a letter, a press release to the local press and said, look, we're called the China Dogs, and weirdly, this promoter from China caught our name and offered us a gig in China just because we're called the China Dogs now. It's plausible, right? That could happen, right? And it's a great kind of story because it's a bit wacky. It's a bit kind of, wow, it's a 1 in a million thing. And it's a local band. So, you know, it's local lads done well, all that kind of stuff. So lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I was flicking through the paper and what did I see? Yeah, my friend and his band in there. Pretty much the exact idea that I gave him. Promoter in China. And I don't even know if they gave him a name, right? And the journalist didn't do that much research because, you know, at the end of the day, journalists will really be happy if you give them a story. Because if you think about it, if you're a journalist, you've got to go out and find stories. You've got to make things happen. Okay, if they're coming to you, then that makes their job easier. And everyone's, at the end of the day, everyone's pretty lazy, aren't they? At the end of the day, everyone wants something dropped in the lap. Everyone wants something served to them. So if you can make their job easier by giving them a really good story, well-rounded and a good presentation, then they're 9 times out of 10 they're going to be interested in featuring the paper. And this is what happened with these guys. They got a photo and they got some press in there. Now, so once you've got that, then that starts to build up your credibility, right? So this goes off in 2 or 3 different advantages to this, but the main advantage I'll tell you in a minute. So once you're in the press, then local press, then people will notice. Not, you know, you won't get hundreds and thousands, but you will get a few people. But the best thing about it now, especially, is you've got something then to put on your website. You've got some press. You can take a quote out of it, and then, you know, it's there. You know, you're in print. You're starting to do it. So once you've got some of those, you can do it again and again and again. You can do it to the next paper, or you can go to the next town and do it like that, and make it sort of fit in with the paper, give them a reason why they should feature you. And it's not that hard, really, because for creative people, we should be able to think about these things, right? So that was one example. Another example was something that I did was I got my band called the Yes Men were involved in a compilation, right? And this guy was did these compilation CDs, and he'd take them to the States, and he'd play them to different publishers and things like that. And he was quite successful at it. But on one occasion, he was a great he's great at sort of ligging. And what I mean by that is hanging around with other, getting backstage and meeting lots of artists, right? He just does that, and he's got this CD, and he'd have pictures taken of selfies with the CD and everything. And he was great at doing it. He managed to get backstage at Brian Wilson's concert, right? Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. And allegedly, I mean, I wasn't there, but he told me this quite unprompted. He said, my track was on the CD. Well, as a band, the track was on the CD. And he said, we were backstage with Brian, and I gave him this CD. We had a picture taken with him. He said, oh, right, let me have a look at it. And he took the CD out, put it in the player, and he pressed like random, pressed the track, and our track came on randomly. And he sat and listened to it, and he said, his own words were, oh, that sounds like the stuff that we used to do, like in the early days of the band. So Brian Wilson was saying, like, we sounded like the Beach Boys. He gave us a little quote, a little soundbite. So he told me that, and I thought, well, that's great, you know. And we had a little demo at the time. So I rang up the paper. I found out the press guy I was meant to send it to, and I'll tell you a bit more about that. I'll tell you exactly how to set this out in a minute. And lo and behold, I told the guy the story, and the guy was blown away. Not only was he made his life easy, but get this guy was the biggest, the biggest Beach Boys fan, right? So as soon as I mentioned Brian Wilson, he was, really? Brian Wilson's listened to your music? Honestly, I'm a massive Beach Boys fan. Brilliant. So it was a no-brainer. We were in the paper. He came and did a photo shoot, and he gave us a really nice sort of big feature, you know, where I was working at the time, you know, because it was such a big feature, and you had a nice sort of picture with it, and it was clearly, you could clearly see me in it. You know, people around work I never even spoke to. I worked in a big college at the time, hundreds of people I never spoke to were coming up to me and saying, oh, I saw you in the paper last night. And so at that point, we didn't really take it any further. The band didn't really go much further than that, but it was a nice little footnote, and it's a nice little anecdote, but it kind of showed me, it's happened a couple of times now, it's that easy to get press, you know, and then you've got credibility, you've got some press, you've got some quotes, and you can use it to do more and more and more, because the more quotes you've got, the more press you've got, the more people feel comfortable in giving you a testimonial or giving you more coverage, because, you know, no one really wants to take a chance on someone who's not known, but you automatically get some credibility. So this is what happened. I'll tell you, come to the present now. I'll tell you the story of what happened to me recently. So what happened was that I had another interesting idea, right? So I was doing crowdfunding an album, my new album, which is nearly almost done. It's in the mixing stage. This was last year now, and I decided to crowdfund the album, which was new to me. But at the same time as I decided to do that, a friend of mine who I networked and met many years before, called Jimmy Lloyd. Now you can check him out, jimmylloyd.tv. He's got his own TV show in the States on NBC, right, and on Amazon, I think, and Apple TV. So anyway, he and I were in touch, and long story short, he invited me onto the show to record the show in New York, right? So I was thinking, wow, this is great. This is a great opportunity for me. So I doubled up, if you like. I got this new album ready to sort of crowdfund for this new album, and got invited to New York. So I drafted out the press release and made it look really sort of interesting and different. And very quickly I got some response, and I got invited. That they did an interview over the phone. They got all the details, and also the angle that they took on it was, because I do a lot of busking, they really kind of interested in that. So the angle was, you know, Birmingham busker goes to Broadway, right? Which was kind of the truth, because it was recorded on Broadway, funnily enough. So brilliant, great, a bit of press, easy, sort of, again, easy to get in. Got on the not only in the newspaper but on the website as well. Loads of people saw it. But this is the bit that's the interesting bit. It's not so much like friends and family and strangers who saw it, right? The interesting bit was, I'm going to rewind slightly. before I'd applied to the paper, before I got the article in the paper, I'd also been applying and talking to the local press, the local radio stations, rather, the local BBC station, BBC Birmingham, right? BBC West Midlands to be precise. So I was approaching them, I was emailing them, and I was getting nothing back, not even a reply. Okay, and the same went with a few other radio stations. So just bear that in mind. So anyway, fast forward, the article came out in the on the website before it came out in the paper. The same day that it came out, the phone rang. Didn't ring like that, but the phone rang the same day it came out, right? The very same day. It'd only been out like a couple of hours, and the phone rang, and guess who it was? It was the producer from BBC West Midlands, the radio station that I'd applied to 2 or 3 weeks before and got nothing back. Not even a reply, not even a thanks, but no thanks. And he was very keen. I've just seen your article in the paper, and I really want to bring you on the show. Right now, this is the breakfast show. Now, this is the highest rating show for BBC West Midlands. BBC West Midlands, there's almost 2 million people in Birmingham, and I think there's about 250,000 people listen to the radio show. Not bad. I'd like you to come in on the show. Would you be able to come in? Yeah, great, I'd love to. So me sensing that there was the iron was hot, I sort of said, well, yeah, I can do a live session if you like. Can you? Yeah, sure. Oh, great. Yeah, so you can do a live session as well as the interview. There you go. So the door was open. I was invited into somewhere where the door was shut before, all because of they seen the paper. Now, this is how producers work for local radio. Again, like journalists, it's their job to pack the show with interesting stories. Now, where do you think they find those interesting stories? In the local paper, right? So that's why you need to get in the local paper. It's not so much, well, it is to get the credibility and everything, but you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to get a producer or someone else who's going to be seeing that as well. So that's what happened, but it didn't stop there. This is the best bit. So I got on the radio show. I was there on the breakfast show, which is the most popular, highest rated program on the channel. Over 250,000 people rather listening. And then as soon as I did that, as soon as I literally, just as I'd finished the session, another producer came in as I was walking out the studio and said, that was great. Really liked what you did. And would you be willing to come on the evening show? There's another guy that does a show at 7 p.m. We'll do it over the phone. But yeah, we'll do it again because you came over really well. There you go. So I've got 2 radio interviews for the price of one in one day. And this was all because I'd sent a story into the local paper. Now, all of that, none of that cost me a penny, right? Didn't cost me a penny. And because I was living locally and it was recorded locally, didn't even pay to get there. So, but then get this, when I went, the interview that I did later on at 7 p.m. Now this was syndicated. Now the BBC, if you're in the UK, you might know this. The BBC, they do these kind of local stations, right? So there's BBC West Midlands, there's BBC Lancashire, BBC Chester, BBC Oxfordshire, BBC London, etc. Right? So like pretty much like the states of America, they're all broken up into what they call counties. Okay, so each county has got its own BBC channel. So this show at 7 p.m. was not only going out to Birmingham, but it was being syndicated across the whole of the UK, from Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and England, right? Well over 2 million people, probably over 3 million people would be listening to that show as it's being syndicated. So I'd gone from getting an advert in, getting some press coverage in the local paper, to being heard by well over 3 million people, right? And that's a session as well. But more my album, my tracks were being played. He was interviewing me. He was asking me about the show. I could give him my website address and everything. So all that exposure, right? just for one article. So that's what I'm telling you. The power of this is incredible. Now, it might not happen exactly like that for you, but if you keep doing it, then you're guaranteed you're going to get more and more exposure. So let me tell you. So if you give me a thumbs up, let me know that that's something that you're interested in, something that it's something that you're going to do. Drop a comment in the box. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about this particular campaign. I'm just going to wrap it up now. But I'm going to give you a couple of hints and tips about how to get in the paper. So first of all, you need to ring up the paper and ask for the relevant person. So if it's a big paper, they'll have someone who's to do with entertainment and things like that. Or you can ask for who's in charge of press releases. So what you need to do is you need to get a name. Well, nowadays you can get online and find their email address. You can even do that, but give them a call as well. You need to speak to them directly. So you need to be persistent, right? You need to be, if you do send an email, you need to follow it with a phone call. If you do a phone call, follow it with an email, right? Just be persistent, be gently persistent, and eventually you will speak to the person who's in charge, right? They've been on BBC Lincolnshire a few times, so you'll know what it is. Didn't know about the syndication. Well, that's it. If you get on the 7 p.m. shows, that's when the 7 p.m. show gets syndicated across all of the networks. So there you go. If you've been on BBC Lincolnshire, you'll know how to get on the radio. So tell that person some very exciting information. You could also do a competition, maybe try something like that if you've been feeling a bit more daring. So send in the information, make sure you send in the press release, and then follow up. Always make sure you follow up. So when you send anything in, make sure you ring up a day or two after and email them and just say, did you get it? Are we okay? You know, just make sure double check everything, follow it up, because they're so busy. And it's very easy to get double booked or to get forgotten about. And then just be persistent, just follow up until you get there. So I hope that's been interesting for you guys. I hope that's been, thanks for the thumbs up, guys. I hope that's been informative for you. Please drop any comments down below. Let me know what you'd like me to do a video on next. Let me know what you think about the channel. I mean, as you know, it's quite a new channel, so it's about music, money, and marketing. So we're kind of combining the three, certainly the two in this video. We're talking about music and we're talking about how to market it. It'd be great to talk about, you know, how you can monetize your music if you want to talk about that. And I'll be telling you some more about my album, how it's coming on. I'll be letting you into some tracks there and some behind the scenes stories and anecdotes, and some more news that's coming around that and around the launch. Okay, so Lynn is saying, thanks, I'd love to have an in-depth video on how to hook up your amp to a leisure battery and inverter. That's a good one. I'll look into that. Lynn wants to set up an amp to a leisure battery. So it's what kind of amp would you be hooking up to that? It's pretty easy, really, but we can do that. Certainly, I can do that. I mean, my amp that I use has just takes batteries anyway. So, yeah. Well, you got some serious gear. Those compacts are beautiful. They sound really good. We got no inverter. Okay, so generally I know that you can get inverters from Maplins. You can get different kind of batteries, different sizes of batteries. You can also get, yeah, those, like you're talking about, the leisure batteries, the kind of all-in-one kind of thing with the lights and everything, and you can plug it in. Or you can get separate inverters. So if that's what you want to talk about, getting a separate inverter and the battery, yeah, we can certainly have a look at that. But that's a heavy system. That's the thing with the AER. The system itself is quite heavy. You add the battery and the inverter to that, you've got some real heft. So you'd also need the right kind of sack truck and the right kind of trolley to carry it all in. I'm guessing that you're talking about busking here, Lynn, for that kind of setup. And you know, there are many other ways of doing that. But if you've already got the amp, then yeah, they're great amps to have on the street. That's for certain. So yeah, thanks for that tip, and we shall endeavour to do something like that. I'd have to get what I could do is, I'm just trying to think how I could do that, because I haven't actually got the inverter myself. Golf cart batteries aren't so heavy. I have a big granny tray for busking. Just sell my Roland AC33. So I'd be interested to hear why you sell the AC33, because I thought they were quite good, but I know that they're not very loud. I tried one out recently, and it sounds great. It's a much better quality sound, but didn't really have the volume that I'm used to. Even with the Street Cube, they kick out a bit of volume. So that'll be interesting, yeah. The golf cart batteries aren't so heavy. I don't know the golf cart batteries. So I guess we're learning together on this one then. But yeah, that's a great topic for a video. Very niche indeed. So yeah, originally I was going to get I was looking at the AER for just for the PA, you know. So you sell your PA and everything else to pay for it. That's not a bad idea. I might do that myself. I've got a Yamaha PA, which is it's pretty good. I use it for the gigs, but yeah, I guess those AERs could be you can use those for gigs as well, because they're so powerful. I guess the only thing with that is you haven't got the dual speakers, so you've just got the one sound source, which can be, if you're in a bigger space, sometimes you can need that extra spread of the sound. But yeah, this is cool, Lynn, and it'd be great to see what you're doing. It'd be great to hear some of your stuff. If you want to send some links on, it'd be great to, if you've got a channel as well, it'd be great to do, you know, a collaboration, do an interview, something like that. That'd be interesting. Okay, so coming up to the half-hour mark here, where it's been interesting, and so that's going to wrap that up. How to get free PR. If there's anything else you want to talk about, again, to do with free PR, happy to do that, and I'll let you know how it's going with my album campaign as soon as we've got the we're moving into the next phase very soon. So stay tuned. There'll be more daily videos. Highly likely there'll be another live one tomorrow, as it's Easter Sunday. Might not have a hell of a lot of time to put another video together, but definitely got some new topics from Lynn. Thank you very much. Yeah, so you're recording a new album at the moment, but thank you for the video on the free PF. You're more than welcome, Lynn. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. That would be really helpful. Please like and share. PF, free PF. What's PF? PR. I know what you mean. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe if that would be really helpful. As I said, this is kind of a fledgling channel, and the idea is to do more and more videos, so it's there's more. Yeah, so it gets more followers and gets more exposure, and hopefully helps more people. So anyway, yeah, send me a link, Lynn. It'd be great to hear your stuff, and I will see you on the next one. Happy Easter.